Ladies and gentlemen, the first information we have today is a successful operation that was carried out in the Bogande axis of Burkina Faso today. Today, the 18th of October 2025, there was a particular rapid intervention brigade, the 19th Battalion. They actually led an escort mission to a province in Burkina Faso under the region of Bogande-Mani axis in Burkina Faso. This operation was spearheaded by a Burkinabe captain called Captain Links. Now, the reason why this information is very, very important is because the JNIM actually dropped a statement early on today warning the local the civilian population in the Bogande-Mani axis that they should not receive any supply from the government. And ladies and gentlemen, the government actually sent over 100, that was mind-boggling, over 100 supplies. I mean, in terms of food supply, relief material to the local population in this region. It ain't like the population are really suffering, but this is just what the Burkinabe government does occasionally to the people of Burkina Faso, just to, give them this feel that you have a working government and all of that. But truly, they do have a working government. But the terrorists, they try to suppress the local citizen by sending an official warning on their platform. Sometimes they communicate with the Al Jazeera platform, and after this, there was a communication with the Rapid Intervention Brigade, the 19th Battalion, that actually deployed so many capabilities to escort this over 100 truck, filled with relief material. And after the warning that if the Burkina Faso armed forces go through, or whatever driver they go through with this convoy through the Bogande-Mani axis, that they were going to be a sabotage mission and the trucks were going to be burned down. So what we found out at the end of the day was it was an empty threat, because this mission was successful. There was no stone thrown at the Burkinabe convoy. They went and they came back. But the Burkinabe Armed Forces actually released a statement that they went with so much capabilities, and they actually went with engineers and experts at, removing mines from the road. And according to the information, they were able to completely deconstruct about 4 improvised explosive devices that have been booby-trapped on the road. So, and after they took the relief material to the location, they actually deployed some forces, that are going to be there for several weeks, just to make sure that, in whatever capacity, the terrorist threat is not just going to come to pass. They are not just going to give the relief material to the citizens. They are going to stay there to make sure that whatever threats the enemies have actually, made, is not going to be functional at all. And so far, so good. It was a successful operation, and Burkina Faso right there just proved that the only way you can actually conversate, you can have a rapport small with these people, is to just improve your capability. There is no peace, no need for peace deals and all of that we have, in some other countries where, the government just find it so easy, so fun to have a rapport small of peace negotiation with these banderites. Burkina Faso just signed a major deal with Russia to improve the capabilities of the Burkinabe when it comes to cotton production. We know that Burkina Faso is one of the superpowers in Africa when it comes to cotton production, but they just signed a deal with Russia, which is a partnership deal that is going to let some new equipment, modern equipment, to come into Burkina Faso, so as to increase the capabilities and the production capacity of the Burkinabes, and it's going to even bring in more employment. Now, the good thing about this is that Burkina Faso is looking to improve the capacity of production they have. They want to build so many cotton manufacturing plants. So, I mean, this is just another tool in the toolbox of Burkina Faso that they are trying to kind of sharpen up, so that it can lead to a kind of rise in their internal economy. Burkina Faso is trying to make sure that they can locally manufacture everything before exporting And this will only have a resultant effect in boosting the economy of Burkina Faso. According to the information we are receiving, that a branch of a major sect in Mali is now trying to open a negotiation with the government. We already know what the government stance is going to be. You know, these men don't just know how to back down from any type of aggression. You know, the law of reciprocity and the law of overwhelming firepower, negotiating from a place of strength. So they said a major sect, a branch of a major sect in Mali is now trying to negotiate with the government of Mali. Why are they trying to negotiate? They say since the deployment of the unified AES forces of the three Sahel states, a branch of a major group is considering negotiating peace deal with the Malian authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, do you think this is going to even hold water? Do you think this is possible? Do you think even in their widest imagination that Assimi Goita or whoever among the three AES leader is going to even give an audience to this type of, you know, deal? We know that in Nigeria, you know, peace deal, peace deal all the way, it's now a lucrative business for whoever has, the cojones to go in there and say they want to join banditry, because, you just tend to be a first-class citizen through banditry. That is what we have seen. Just some days ago, we posted the video of some bandits in the Bakori region, the Bakori local government area of Katsina State. You can see the number, the conspicuous number of bandits, that were actually involved in that negotiation with the local government authorities that has affiliation to even superior authorities. They're in the know of all these things that is going on. But I don't think, that is possible. The only reason why I feel like they want to negotiate with the Malian authorities or with the AES authorities is because they might be feeling the pressure, and that is the only way to make them concede defeat. You have to make them feel there is a need to hold a peace deal. But in Nigeria, I do believe that it is the authorities that are trying to negotiate peace deal, not the other way around like we have in the AES. So the only way to have peace with these people is to improve your capabilities. That is just what I think. What do you think? Now, in another information, there was a preemptive decapitation strike on the JNIM leadership in a particular region in Mali. According to information, they said the farmer conducted a decisive operation, a reconnaissance, offensive reconnaissance in the Oro region. Specifically in Bewani-Belawere, a score of terrorists were neutralized and a significant weapon were recovered by the Malian armed forces. Ladies and gentlemen, initially, the way through which the elements were trying to make a statement, they were trying to use the forceful, show of capabilities. So many times on this platform, we've actually posted so many skirmish results here, and you can see what side is winning and what side is significantly losing, not only manpower, recovery of equipment and every other thing. So this is another big defeat on the side of the enemy, a very, very big decapitation assault, and they were able to capture so many equipment. So now we are seeing a situation in the Sahel where many of this equipment that are being shipped in from the sea, through those border country, those coastal nations, it could be whatever country, I don't want to mention names right now, bringing it to those people, but it's as if they are redistributing this equipment. It gets shipped in through their people, and when they take this equipment to combat, they just end up, getting liberated, and this equipment just gets recovered, and it goes directly into the armory of the AES forces. Now, that means it's some, a lot of money just gets to be saved right there, because we've actually seen that those people, they are giving them so much capabilities, but at the end of the day, the Malian armed forces just continue to recover all this equipment. Kudos to the Malian armed forces, and it shows that they are really, really showing a lot of capabilities in the face of this aggression. That is not a state imposed aggression, because the government of Mali so much has a lot of domination over its space right now, but we continue to see a lot of capabilities. We continue to see a lot of hydrocarbon supply chain to the elements, this banderites. But at the end of the day, we're seeing improvement, and this is just another improvement. And according to the information, striking the leadership of this particular sect, we know that they always have this chain of succession. Another person is going to step in, but the main fighters, the experienced ones, they are getting knocked out by the day. And most of the time you see these days that even when we see some of the bodies of this banderites, after they must have lost heavily, you can see that some of them are young, very young. Some of them are in their teenage. Some of them, I don't even know, we've seen it here. We've posted it on our Telegram, and a lot of people have even attested to this. It shows that the quality of recruitment is just very, very bad. And there is still a lot of questions. Where are they getting these bodies from? Because after every liberation, we see that, it's a lot of numbers on the ground, and they continue to come in. How many million do we have in the Sahel? In Mali, we have about 26 point something million people. So how many of this population are into this banderism? And they continue to get defeated, annihilated, obliterated, but they continue to come in. So it means that a lot of neighboring countries need to address their security issue. But at the end of the day, the struggle continues, and until everybody comes together, unites, we have governments that are collectively ready to fight against, this aggression. I think it still will go on for a while. But the good aspect is that the last time I heard Asibi go to speak, he was talking about, their preparedness to go through this phase of aggression for 1, 2, 3, even spoke like 4 years. Yeah, that's somebody that is really, really ready to go on. So let's see how much the enemies and their funders can take in this war of liberation. Now we have a situation in Nigeria. The security chiefs of Nigeria have just announced the capture of a particular man called Gentle the Yahoo in Imo State, and several of his other accomplices were equally arrested. What did they say? They said he actually been performing a lot of terrorist acts and all of that. But yeah, they said they've captured him. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch this video.
Troops of Operation Udoka sustained offensive posture throughout the week under review. Between 8th to 13th October, they conducted offensive operations and arrested a suspected IPOB PSN terrorist commander identified as Gentle, who was on troops wanted list along 8 other criminals who were West and Maitoli local government areas of Imo State, as well as Izzi and Abochukwu local government area of Ikodi State. Some weapons, ammunition, and vehicles were also recovered from them. Additionally, a female IPOB PSN collaborator, who also was believed to be one of their logistics suppliers, was arrested in Umunochi local government area of Abia State on 13th October 2025. During the arrest, 3 children whose investigation revealed were biological children to a wanted IPOB PSN leader identified as Madwabuchi Wampo, otherwise known as Emergency, were found in her custody. It was further revealed that the terrorist leader is also a relation.
Now, what I will let you understand here is that it seemed to me that the Nigerian government just seems to be very, very effective when it comes to a certain geolocation of the country. They are so effective. It seems like they are the best armed forces in the world when it comes to the southeastern part of Nigeria, and when it comes to, the show of capabilities in the southwestern part. Let's just say the southern part of Nigeria, they continue to show so much capability. Like, I've never seen them, take a significant setback in this region But why is it that when it comes to handling the issue of banditry and insecurity in the northeastern, the northwestern, the north central region, you know, the middle belt, it's now becoming a chaos. It's becoming a calamity. It's becoming a show of incompetence on the side of those people. When you have a government that is negotiating peace deal with these banderites, you know, and they tell you that they don't have good equipment, that the equipment they have is, you cannot compare it to what the bandits or the Boko Haram or the ISWAP have, and all of that. They talk about the Lakurawa and all of that. But when it comes to the southern part of the country, you see so much capability. Nobody's talking about, you know, we're not given enough weapon, where our guns are jammed, they are not properly maintained. We're not hearing this. Now they've captured. We even heard the last time when they were trying to ambush him, the first time, that they walked several hours to get to his location so that they will be undetected. But we don't have the situation in the northern part of Nigeria where a lot of complaints. And we get the civilian, the locals give a lot of, you know, conflicting evidences of what is going on. So now I'm not saying that any type of terrorist act is okay. I'm not saying that any type of, you know, act of aggression is okay. You know, everybody should be law abiding and all of that. But this is a situation where we've seen a complete collapse of law and order, where, you know, several court orders have been defiled, you know, and we talk about the capture of within how many days? They captured this man less than a month, and you have people like Bello Torji, Ado Alero, the Abu Maima, Abu Fatima, and all the Abus of the world within the northern part of Nigeria that continues to walk freely today. They threaten the government, they abuse the government, they come to TikTok to post videos of the loot they've collected from, you know, their victims and all of that. But they can walk freely. But this is just another man that have just been caught. So, you know, there is so much imbalance here. He has been captured, fine. We will be much okay. So now it's a question of what will happen to him after he's been captured, right? But you give peace deals to other people.
Sun turo mana sulhu, sun turo gwamna ya ce da shi za a, sannan shugaban kasa ma in da shi ake magana yanzu, shi ma ya turo mana. Toran da muka zauna muka yi magana da matar da turo, an ga ba mu sake ganin ta. Kaga halin yan Najeriya ke. To inda azu ba malamai bane, wallahi ba mu. Allah ya sani. Wallahi darajar su mun kadiba mu zaka mu saurari abin da za su faɗa mu da mu ba mu yarda ba. Bakin iyakar saurare yanzu nan magana muka yi da ku, an kaci an yarda alƙawali Allah kuna mana kun ga girgi ya wuce. Ai an yarda kuna nan mana girgi ya wuce nan. Me ya kaza yanzu nan ba a minti 30 ba.
It's not a balanced country. We want a situation where everybody that is involved in this banderism is gone. We don't need them, right? But we have a situation where they negotiate peace deal with some people. Some people are free to work. He's a whole different chaos entirely. But we'll see. So, according to the defense chief of Nigeria, we got this information from the Sahara reporters, that the defense chief said that the bandits would not honor peace deals. So the civilian population should avoid negotiating peace deals with these elements, with these criminals, like they call them. But if you are telling the civilian population not to negotiate peace deal with this element, it shows the lack of competence on the side of the military and on the side of the government of the Nigerian state to protect the civilians, right? It's a failure on their side. That's why you even have the civilians whose rights have been depleted, so much so that they now take on the role of negotiating with these banderites. Now he's coming out to advise. Are you supposed to be advising or to show so much capability right now? If the government can negotiate peace deals, right? So the civilians have already seen their government negotiating, which means their government is powerless over the situation. They're so powerless, right? Man, it's just a sad situation. Honestly, it's a it's desperately sad situation. So in Kebbi State, the governor of Kebbi State, according to the information we have, he has now entered a pact with Chinese firm to combat banditry, most especially the Lakurawa terrorist group. Ladies and gentlemen, is it going to yield a good result? Is it going to yield a good result? The governor of Kebbi State. Sometimes when I hear some of this news, I get confused. Who is in charge? Can the governor take this unilateral decision? Can the governor of a state bring in foreign firms? Can he bring in a private militia? Can he bring in a PMC to come and, rescue the situation in his state without approval from the presidency? We don't even know what is right from what is wrong in this country anymore. Unfortunately, that's the situation. But let's see how it goes. Now, in the last episode of today, right? Madagascar, this is no new news. They have a new president, Michael Randrinarina. Very, very capable man in charge of Madagascar. Now, why do I say he's capable? Because of what we are beginning to see. Okay? Because of the propagandas that have been coming out from the propaganda sources, the propaganda media, definitely that this man has the interest of his people at heart. Based on the things we have been hearing so far, so good. I'm just so proud of him. He has now been congratulated officially, by the man that called himself the former president, that is Rajalina. He said he is the ex-president, according to his statement on his Facebook official platform, which I visited. He said he's congratulating the new president of Madagascar. Now, when I read this issue of he's congratulating the new president of Madagascar and all of that, I was like, is this a setup of the Madagascan people or something? But, we now found, an article that have been published just today regarding this whole power shift in Madagascar. Now, let me just keep you informed. According to several sources, Emmanuel Macron convened a restricted meeting at the Elysee with some group of the Nicolas Sarkozy members of African diaspora and of Madagascan descent and DGSE agents about the military seizure of power in Madagascar. The new military leader is perceived in Paris as a threat to the French interests in Madagascar. Several Parisian advisors attempted through the French embassy in Antananarivo to establish contact with the new Malagasy authorities to secure guarantees, but those attempts were repeatedly ignored. You see, the reason why this man was thrown in jail before was because of his stance against the interests of France, And now we have a situation where they see him as an enemy. You see, but yeah, regardless of what France feels about this country, though they have given a reply, they've given a response. According to the information we received, the advisor to the office of CAPSAT delivered this morning to the media during the presidential oath address. During the presidential oath address to the African Union, France, Macron, and foreign partners. Where were you, African Union, when the Malagasy people had neither electricity nor water? Did you even find a solution? But as soon as the Malagasy youth rise up, sanctions appears immediately. When we are in solidarity, we work together. But if you do not wish to collaborate, then stay in your own countries. To the international partners, everyone has their homeland. Madagascar belongs to the Malagasy. So when presidents speak, let them show respect, because the Malagasy people who are rising up are not crazy. To France, he added, France for French, we must respect the French people, but Macron must also respect us. As we are a sovereign state, besides, Macron doesn't even have the support of 15% of the French population. Therefore, he cannot claim to speak on behalf of the French people, especially since he is deeply unpopular in his own country. Today, he declared. And the name of this general is called General Lycin Ren Roland. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, we are in a stage in Africa where a lot of people are getting liberated because of the global shift in power dynamics, you know, the unilateral world, the multilateral world order. You know, there's a clash right now, and a lot of people are taking bold stands. They're taking bold steps to kind of get the real independence. You know, this old declared independence of 1960 something, 90 is all lies. I think a lot of sabotage deals were signed back then just to posture. But now I think people are really demanding their freedom, and it's going to come at a cost. And that is what you see in the AES. What I don't know now in Madagascar is how prepared are they? Vladimir Putin has already sent some delegation of the Russian hierarchies to Madagascar, you know, through the Russian embassy to open talks with the Madagascan military hierarchy. So we're about to see a situation in Madagascar that is going to be seriously unprecedented. But before then, what I do think is that right now, the Malagasy people have actually taken a very bold step. You know, it's actually surprising that a country that is surrounded by water, if you look at the African map, Madagascar is surrounded by water. So how come they don't have water? You see, so if you look at it from that perspective, it will make you look at this differently. And I do believe, look, it's just in the interest of this people, it's just in the best interest of those people. It will be in their best interest to just avoid any type of contact with France, because it won't pay them. How can you be covered with water? You're surrounded with water, yet you don't have water. That is a diabolic scenario. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the news we have for today. We hope you like it. You can kindly drop your opinion in the comment section below. You can support us by hitting the like button, because it just takes the video to a whole nother level. Thanks for watching, and God bless you. Peace out.